History is filled with epic battles, tales of victory, and tragic defeats. But what happens when the central figure of a battle, a king no less, simply vanishes without a trace? Today, we're diving into one of the most perplexing unsolved mysteries in European history, the disappearance of King Sebastian of Portugal. It's the year 1578. The stage is set in Morocco, at the Battle of Alcácer Quibir, also known as the Battle of the Three Kings. On one side, we have the Moroccan Sultan Abd al-Malik and his brother. On the other, the deposed Moroccan Sultan, allied with the ambitious young King Sebastian of Portugal. Sebastian, just 24 years old, was driven by a fervent crusading zeal. He dreamed of a grand Christian empire in North Africa and saw this conflict as his divine mission. Despite warnings from his advisors about the risks, he assembled a massive. He was confident, perhaps overly so, that God was on his side and victory was assured. The battle began on a sweltering August morning. The Portuguese forces, though well-equipped, were outnumbered and unfamiliar with the terrain. The Moroccan army, led by the brilliant tactician Abd al-Malik, had a clear strategy. They used their superior cavalry to outflank the European square formation, creating chaos and panic. The heat was relentless, and the Portuguese soldiers, weighed down by heavy armor, quickly became exhausted. Things went from bad to worse. One of the three kings, Sultan Abd al-Malik, actually died early in the battle, not from a weapon, but from illness and the sheer stress of command. His death was kept secret from his troops to maintain morale, a decision that proved decisive. As the battle raged on, the Portuguese lines began to crumble. The other Moroccan king, the deposed Sultan fighting alongside Sebastian, drowned trying to flee across a river. That left only one king on the battlefield, Sebastian. Eyewitness accounts from that day are a whirlwind of chaos and confusion. Some say they saw the king fighting valiantly in the heart of the battle, refusing to surrender. Others claim he was last seen charging headfirst into the enemy ranks, a flash of shining armor disappearing into a sea of soldiers. And then, nothing. He was gone. When the dust settled and the horrifying scale of the Portuguese defeat became clear, a frantic search began. Several bodies were presented as his, but none could be positively identified. One body, claimed by the Moroccans to be Sebastian, was eventually returned to Portugal and buried with royal honors. But for many, the lack of concrete proof was a gaping wound. How could a king, the most recognizable person on the battlefield, simply vanish? This uncertainty gave birth to a powerful and enduring myth, Sebastianism. The Portuguese people couldn't accept that their beloved desired king was dead. They believed he had not died, but had gone into hiding, or perhaps was taken to a mystical, hidden island like Avalon, waiting for the perfect moment to return and restore Portugal to its former glory. This belief wasn't just a folk tale. The country was swept by waves of hope whenever a new pretender emerged claiming to be the long-lost king. The most famous of these pretenders was a man from Calabria, Italy, who appeared 20 years after the battle. He bore a striking resemblance to Sebastian and knew intimate details about the Portuguese court. He convinced many, including some of Sebastian's old associates. But even his death didn't kill the legend. 3 more major pretenders would follow, each one stirring up the hopes of a nation desperate for a savior. The belief in Sebastian's return became deeply woven into Portuguese culture, influencing literature, politics, and the national psyche for over 300 years. So what really happened to King Sebastian? Let's look at the most plausible theories. In the chaos and carnage of a medieval battlefield, it's entirely possible for one body, even a king's, to be lost forever. The heat would have caused rapid decomposition, making identification even harder. This is the theory most historians subscribe to. It's logical, simple, and fits the brutal reality of the battle. Could he have survived and, ashamed of the catastrophic defeat, chosen to live out his days in exile as a penitent hermit? This theory plays into the romantic notion of a fallen hero, too proud to face his people after such a disaster. He would have abandoned his identity, his crown, his entire world. While there's no evidence to support this, it's a compelling narrative that fits his deeply religious and dramatic personality. Then there's the capture theory. Perhaps he wasn't killed, but was taken prisoner. As a king, he would have been an incredibly valuable hostage, but if so, why was no ransom ever demanded? It is possible he was captured by a smaller faction of soldiers who didn't realize who they had. And he was either killed during a dispute or sold into obscurity as a common slave. In the fog of war, his identity could have been lost, and he could have lived and died in anonymity far from home. The mystery of King Sebastian's disappearance had profound consequences. With no king and no heir, Portugal was plunged into a succession crisis. This crisis led directly to the Iberian Union 1580, where King Philip II of Spain, who had a legitimate claim through his mother, also became King of Portugal. For the next 60 years, Portugal lost its independence and was ruled from Madrid. The golden age of Portuguese exploration and power came to an abrupt end. All of this stemming from one disastrous battle and one vanished king. The legend of Sebastian is a powerful reminder of how a single event can change the course of history, and how, in the absence of facts, myth and hope can fill the void. He transformed from a reckless young monarch into an eternal symbol of Portuguese hope and national identity, a sleeping king waiting to awaken, leaving behind a question that still fascinates us over 440 years later. What do you think happened? Was he killed and lost in the chaos? Did he escape into a life of exile? Or is there another explanation we haven't considered? Let me know your theories down in the comments. The story of King Sebastian is a perfect storm of history, mystery, and myth, proving that sometimes the most compelling stories are the ones without a final chapter. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the past. If you love unsolved historical mysteries like this one, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the strangest stories from our history. See you next time.